everyone. I'm Mary Delgado, the host of the Blockchain Herd, and this is Bama. He's my little assistant. Thank you so much for subscribing to my channel, and please don't forget to hit that like button. Today I have a wonderful guest. His name is Bonz. He's a custodian for Vigor, and we're just going to go over what Vigor is all about and how he got involved. So welcome to the program. And Bama said welcome as well.
Thanks so much, Mary. I'm happy to be here. I've been a fan of your show since you started. I'm a huge fan of Wax, obviously, so I've been following your podcasts from the beginning. I think you're doing a great job, by the way. Not just for the Wax community, but for crypto in general. It's awesome what you're doing, and letting people in on your journey of learning is really cool.
Yeah. So I came across yours, which is a lending platform and borrowing platform. And I wanted to learn more about it. And I wanted to get my viewers, just get the word out to let them know what Vigor is all about. So let's start off by maybe you telling me how you got involved with Vigor.
Sure. So maybe it's probably been maybe almost a year now since I joined the Vigor DAC. I think the project has been in the works now for maybe a couple of years, but it really got started maybe about a year ago when the DAC was formed. And and I'll start basically with that. It's a decentralized autonomous community. So it was started as a DAC. So which basically means that the founding members basically started this DAC, and it's open for anyone to join, which is actually how how this interview came to be. Jimmy joined the DAC, and he was in some of the chat rooms and asking him about how he could help, and that's basically how the entire project was sort of started.
And for those of you who don't know, Jimmy is my husband, James.
Right, and he just recently joined the DAC, and so and just as I did when I first kind of came into the DAC, I was just basically a community member, and was looking for how I could help and how I could be involved, and so I was intrigued by the idea of a borrowing and lending platform, being able to basically leverage crypto assets, EOS. At the time, it was just still growing. There really wasn't a platform yet. It was just a group of developers and just a group of all different people with all different skill sets, all basically putting their work towards building this platform. All basically just all the members of the DAC were basically earning big tokens, and of course the DAC members could vote for people who were providing value, basically. So the people who were contributing code and contributing to community building and the governance aspects, those people who were active and who were on the calls and who were really helping build could earn votes. And so there's 21 elected custodians, of which I am now one, and we're sort of the stewards of the protocol. And so, yeah, it's been sort of a long journey of building out the protocol, which is now live. We launched just a few weeks ago, September 15th. It went live on the US public mainnet.
Wow, congratulations. That's amazing. So who are the users? Who are the users that are on the platform?
So good question. Anyone with an EOS account can use the Vigor app.vigor.ai. Just like any other app, you can log in with Scatter, Anchor, Token Pocket, Wombat. So you'd log on just like any other application. The first step is going to be you're going to sign the Constitution. So that kind of like makes you a member of the DAC, and also a user of the platform.
But wait a minute, sign the Constitution. What does that mean?
So there's a Constitution to actually join the DAC. So basically the DAC, going back to what I was saying before, it's basically like anybody can join the DAC, and anybody can be a member of the DAC just by going to the Vigor app and signing the Constitution. Okay. And so once you're a member of the DAC, basically, so the DAC and the protocol are kind of two different things. Like there's an actual application, and the people that were involved with building the application are DAC. And like I said, anyone could join the DAC, and anyone can jump in and basically provide value and help build and earn big tokens in the process. If you're given votes by the custodians. So basically, the people who are involved with the calls, or involved with building, or involved with, the social media accounts or whatever, can earn votes by the custodians, and those votes enable you to earn daily Vig rewards. And so Vig there's two tokens in the Vigor protocol: the Vig token and Vigor, which is like the stable coin of the system. It's a low volatility token. And so the Vig token is actually like the utility for the actual application itself. So when you take a loan or borrow or earn fees, you're using the Vig token. So the Vig token is basically the utility token for paying fees to actually use the application. And the Vig token itself is a fixed supply token, and it's essentially deflationary because some portion of the fees are always basically, they're not really burned, but they go to a fund that basically is not used. So they're always being taken out of circulation. So the token is essentially deflationary. And as more and more people use the app, of course, you kind of need to use the tokens to use the app. So it does have a utility. And which I can show you whenever we're going to get into that point. I can kind of show you how the Vig token works within the app.
Yeah. So how many users are you up to right now?
So actually, we just reached our first 500 users.
You've only been on for 2 weeks.
For a couple weeks, yeah. It was like, and so we exceeded our expectations actually. And it's funny you brought that up because just yesterday we actually had hit a limit. 500 users was actually like a temporary limit that we had set a couple months ago. Because we're just trying to, make sure that we're building it slowly and controlling how many people come in and control possible like spam accounts or whatever. So we had thought, our goal was maybe, we'll try to get 500 users, and we actually hit 500 users so much faster than we anticipated. We actually hit a cap just yesterday. So we of course had a few users that were like, what's going on? And we realized it was like we actually had reached the maximum number of users. So we just went in and changed that yesterday. So now our next goal is to hit 1,000 users.
That's awesome. Listen, I know what it feels like to reach 500 because I reached 500 subscribers on my channel, and I was like, whoa, I'm so excited. So I did that. I guess I've had my channel now for a month, and I reached 500, and my next goal is to reach 1,000. So, I actually have a goal of like way up higher, but man, congratulations to you guys in 2 weeks to hit 500. That's huge.
Congratulations to you as well. And I'll say to anybody who's watching this, who's part of the Vigor community, make sure you go subscribe to Mary's channel. She's doing great work for all of crypto space in general.
Yeah,
so give her a like and subscribe to the channel for sure.
I appreciate that. So, it sounds really interesting. We're going to get into, I'm going to share my screen with you, and we're going to do a walkthrough on your website. But like, who are your competitors? Who would you say are your competitors?
Well, so there's there's a few different apps that kind of do similar things to what we do. I guess I would say on EOS, it's called Pizza Lend. It's a similar sort of site, and there's also another site called Equilibrium. They're in the same space. They essentially.
But we won't talk about them.
Yeah, they have some of the same functionality, and of course they're all good. There's good things about. I'm not going to trash talk them or anything, but our rates are way better. And we have a way better product. And of course we, just like, it's more, what I would say makes us awesome and unique, great, is that we were built sort of from the community. We didn't start by, there wasn't VCs that put up some investment and basically hired people to build it. It was all people who really cared about building a good product. And so because we have super small, there's like no fees compared to these other sites. So these other sites kind of have like high borrowing rates. And so we basically, it's because we're a DAC, it's like not for profit. So it's not, so there's no like VCs pushing like we have to be making money. This has to be like a money making endeavor. It was more like a group of people building this platform so that we could use it and so that anyone could use it.
And that's something that I really appreciate too, is that you are so big in the community. And if you did have your community kind of help build this and there aren't any VCs, that means that you're really listening to what the community has to say. So that's huge.
Exactly. And it's a matter also of like, so because there's no like that initial investment, the token was essentially started from scratch. It was only given a value by the EOS community. there was no, so basically, and if you're, comparing market caps, it's like we're, I think, like 1/10 of the size or less than like Equilibrium, which is like the equivalent competitors, say, on EOS. And, we have probably a very similar, I think, total value locked. So in other words, we have the same volume of lending and borrowing going on, and probably more users, but measuring the actual size, the market cap of the token value, we're just a tiny fraction of the size, which means we just have so much room to grow. But also at the same time, that means we don't have, some of these bigger companies might have, a more coordinated marketing effort or more money to put behind these things, whereas because we're a grassroots effort and it's built by a DAC, we are like the marketing. Like I'm part of the marketing group. That's kind of where I found my niche within the DAC, was to help with the social networking and community building. So basically, within the working groups of the Vigor DAC, we have, of course, the developer group, and we have the guys that are doing UI and UX, and the designers, and the guys that are involved with governance. And then we have, the marketing and integrations and community building. And so that's the group I find myself in. And I host a call every Wednesday, and everybody who's part of that group sort of just comes in a Zoom call, and we all chat and talk about ideas for the week and how we can do marketing from the grassroots level. I mean, all of our marketing, and a lot of people are impressed by like how we've grown we've never spent $1 on marketing. We actually don't pay for any outside marketing. We just use our own group and our own resources to reach out. And of course, we're small, and we're starting with the EOS community because that's where we started from, and that's our roots. But of course, in the future, we hope to expand well outside of the EOS community, to Ethereum, and then obviously all of crypto in general. And of course, like now that, I think the big news today was Eospinex is launching on the EOS chain.
Yes.
And with that will come, a lot of wrapped Bitcoin and Ethereum will be on chain on EOS. And so now there's an exchange that you can log into with your wallet. So it's non-custodial. That means you can log on with your Scatter wallet and, trade EOS and Bitcoin with a lot of liquidity and not very much slippage and very low fees, and have EOS have Bitcoin or Ethereum on the EOS blockchain. And so now, of course, with all that added liquidity, those of course are coins that are like on the top of our list to add to the Vigor protocol. So of course, soon, trademark soon, we'll be continuously, we're always looking to add new tokens, but of course, getting Bitcoin and Ethereum will be huge.
And currently, how many do you have currently?
So right now, of course, you can use VIG as collateral, and you can use EOS as collateral, and the Vigor token, of course. And we recently added USDT. Nice. So we added Tether to be able to be used on our platform, to be lent or borrowed or used as collateral. And also, we just recently did a poll from our community and decided that we basically were looking to add more tokens from the EOS community, like other EOS tokens. And so we decided that the EFX token would be the next one we'd add. And the other one that's right up the top of the list is the IQ token. So those are both like, really, really, really successful projects on EOS that, like the IQ token, of course, was one of the original airdrop tokens to all EOS Genesis holders. So anybody who is in on the Genesis block of EOS has some kind of bag of IQ tokens, and they're the, that's the Everpedia site. So they basically made the decentralized Wikipedia, right? So of course that token has utility because you can, stake it to their platform to actually add information to Everpedia, whatever. But the point being is that there's all these holders of these IQ tokens, and those tokens are just kind of like, at least for me, I can speak for myself, they're kind of like collecting dust in my wallet, right? They're just kind of sitting there. I don't have any intention of selling them, but they're not really doing anything, right? Whereas once we add them to our protocol, I can now use those tokens as collateral. So I can deposit those IQ tokens and then take a loan of some Vigor tokens, and say I wanted to go trade or go buy some wax, or go buy some NFTs, like, which I've actually done. Just take a loan, go to Nudex, buy some wax, get in on an NFT drop, maybe sell a few NFTs, pay back my loan, and have a few packs left over, So it's like it's just basically like enabling people to put their assets to work and leverage, tokens that maybe you have sitting in your wallet, like kind of like collecting dust, or actually more technically not collecting anything, just kind of sitting there.
So I was going to ask you, why use Vigor, but I guess you've already answered that. It's grassroots, and you're very well based in the community. And in 2 weeks' time, you've grown so much. If that's an indication, I mean, 2 weeks to have 500 users. I mean, you're going to just explode, and that's pretty exciting.
That is exciting.
I guess that we already answered the why use Vigor, right?
Yeah, and it's slow and steady growth. We like I said, we kind of actually already hit our kind of targets. We kind of actually gained more users than we even expected. But of course, we're looking at the long term. Like as you know, the DeFi buzzword was, things were getting kind of like, it was like out of control almost a couple months ago. It was like there was just like apps popping out of the woodwork, new tokens that were just like, introduce X token to mine Y token. And it was like, and there was just basically like,
Yeah, that was crazy. That was a crazy time. With a DeFi, you pop in, you pop out, the tokens all over the place.
Yeah, and like some of those platforms are like basically like just so scammy, and like it was basically, and of course DeFi like encompasses such a huge range of what people consider to be decentralized finance, right? Like people can go back, people consider Bitcoin as like the original decentralized finance, right? And it kind of is. It's I think someone famously said, maybe it was on Obama, like having Bitcoin is like having a Swiss bank account in your pocket, right? So it of course we all know it's hard money, and anyone with an internet connection could take part in it. So essentially it was the original decentralized finance. Well, now we're kind of at like what we're calling DeFi 3.0 with Vigor. So it's like not only do you have the ability to have a bank account in your pocket, you have the ability to be the bank in your pocket, right? So if you have an EOS account and you have some tokens, you can now be not only storing your wealth, but you can lend out those tokens, or you can put those tokens as collateral and borrow against them and leverage up, or take a loan and sell those tokens to essentially be shorting a token.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like the next level of tool, So and it's basically like a bank, but so much more,
Right. So now that I'm really excited about Vigor, why don't you give us a test drive so we can see what all Vigor has to do. So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen with you, and I'm gonna let you take over. So hold on one second.
Perfect. Cool. So this is what it looks like once you're logged in to the app.vigor.ai. Like I said before, you'll basically initially just like log in as a user and click to sign the Constitution. And then, basically what it looks like, you have your big fees and rewards at the top. And so what I can do is like make a deposit of some big. And so that can like basically pay my fees. So you see here, great, I just like made a quick deposit of some big. It shows here my balance of big. And so here's kind of I'll give you just the quick walkthrough of like some of the ways to actually use the app. One thing you can do is lend your EOS. So right here in this lend box, like I could just go ahead and like lend let's say I lend, you can lend VIG, EOS, USDT, Vigor, and it shows that we're getting 3.14% on that lend, and you're also then getting a like the Rex rewards and proxy rewards by depositing that as well. So and the cool thing about Vigor is and one thing that kind of separates it from some of the DeFi and like Ethereum say is the fact that like, so you see here I'm depositing one EOS, right? Like I can deposit one EOS, that's $2.62, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, you can see where I'm going with this. It's basically like all inclusive, right? Like anyone all over the world. Like it's not like with Ethereum you can't even make a transaction. The transaction fee is more than that, right? So what's really cool about the Vigor app is that people all over the world with maybe just a small handful of digital assets can still put those assets to work and still take advantage of the low volatility token to have it in the savings account and be earning a little bit of interest on that, or better yet, be able to borrow against that, which I'll show you how to do now. So here's the collateral section. So let's just say I'll add some EOS to this collateral. I just put in all the EOS that I had in my account. So say that's 240 EOS.
I mean, that's pretty interesting. Instead of having everything sitting somewhere not collecting any interest, why not put it there and collect some interest on your deposit?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for a long time on EOS, sort of the in the original quote unquote DeFi on EOS was sort of like Rex, right? So I can put my EOS into the Rex pool, and I can essentially collect some of those fees that for people borrowing. I'm basically renting out my CPU. But the thing is that it was paying like 0.02% or something. I mean, it's just like a really low rate, right, that you're getting by putting your EOS into Rex. And what's really cool about, as you saw with loaning out your EOS, you're getting like almost 5%, which of course, isn't a lot, but it's a lot better than 0.02%, so it's like, it's still just collecting some interest on it. So you see, I've now deposited my EOS. It shows my collateral. So say I have $645 worth of collateral. I can now, borrow against that. Right. So I'll go ahead and, borrow, say I wanted to borrow $200 for this newest NFT drop that's happening on Wax, or say I wanted to, go, I have a feeling this token's going to, go up, and I want to buy some of them so I can try to capitalize on that upward movement. Right. Or whatever. I want to go out to dinner.
And are you borrowing against your deposits?
Yeah, so the first step was I deposited that EOS as collateral, and you can see here value $645 worth of EOS that I deposited, right? And so I now borrowed. Well, it looks like I accidentally borrowed 2 Vigor. I was trying to borrow 200.
I was going to say, what are you going to buy with 2?
Yeah, so I was half paying attention, but so yeah, I can now borrow against the collateral that I deposited. And so the way that the rate works is, of course, it's like a ratio to how much I have deposited. So that's what this CR gauge is here as well. Oh, I didn't wait long enough. So it takes 1 minute in between while the transaction is being settled. I basically didn't wait enough. So what this shows here is my CR, which is my collateral ratio. So right now it shows, the maximum, because I basically have $600 in collateral, but I borrowed $2. And while we're waiting for that initial transaction to settle, I'll show you the rest of it. So of course, what you can also do is borrow crypto. So I could deposit Vigor here, and again, it's the same thing. There would then be a collateral ratio, and then on this side, once I've made a deposit, I can then borrow against that collateral. So I could borrow EOS, I could borrow USDT. So say I wanted to go long Bitcoin or even short Bitcoin, I could buy some USDT. I could borrow USDT and go buy Bitcoin with it and sell that Bitcoin if I thought Bitcoin was going down. And then,
so what's really neat about this is, you base it on collateral and not on your credit score, if you will. So that's pretty nice.
You're exactly right. But I'm glad you brought that up, because one thing I didn't explain is that by every user actually immediately generates what is essentially a credit score, right? It's called your user reputation. So it kind of keeps track of your reputation, and that will actually give you a better rate. So you see here, like it's showing my borrow rate is 15.64%. So that's kind of a high borrow rate. That borrow rate also has to do with my collateral ratio, because I've borrowed so much against my collateral. So I have $600 worth of collateral, but I've borrowed $400, right? So my collateral ratio is 160. So I have a borrow rate of 15%, right? Well, you can see over here on the right that my reputation score is 19%. So it's better than, I'm ranked higher than, 20% of the people using the app. And so if my reputation score goes up, I can get a bigger discount. So right here, it's showing my discount is 4%. So 4.81. I can eventually raise that up so that my borrow rate can get really low. You can eventually have a 25% discount. Just by having, by essentially increasing your credit score.
Right, your reputation. So I like that because that kind of reminds me of, I don't know, I'm thinking about maybe like you got Amazon Prime, and even in eBay. I guess in eBay, when you go to try to sell something, you look at the different reviews, and the better your reviews are, then people are more likely to buy from you. So it's kind of similar to that, I guess.
Exactly right. That's exactly right. And you can look up in the stats and see exactly where you are versus all the other users at any given point. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so I'll just go ahead and show you this. This is like now the equivalent of your savings account, right? So say I want to protect some of my crypto assets from volatility. So what I just did was I just took a loan of Vigor, so against my EOS, right? So I now have that Vigor that I could go and buy other tokens with, or I can just go ahead and deposit those into this savings account here and earn just interest on just my stable coins, essentially, which is probably one of the main use cases of the platform, is being able to utilize the low volatility token. So in times of volatility, people want to go back to a more stable token to protect themselves against volatility. So in the meantime, you can be earning some VIG per day just by putting in that savings. So now you see, now what I'll do is I will basically repay. So say I'll repay some of this loan, and what you'll see is my collateral ratio will go down. So there's two ways I can make that collateral ratio go down. I could either deposit more into my collateral, so like you keep adding to your collateral, and I could get eventually a lower and lower rate, or I can, of course, as I'm paying back my loan, as you'll see here, in 1 minute it should adjust. So you see how my borrow rate just went all the way down to 1.9% from 15, because now my collateral ratio is so much better. You see I have $600 in collateral, but I'm only borrowing $100. So my collateral ratio is 600%. My borrow rate is only 1.9% now. So it's like if you can issue yourself a loan at 1.9%, there's a lot of ways that you can put capital to work if your borrow rate is only 1.9%, right? Like,
what bank is going to give you 1.9%?
Me personally, none. No bank will give me that. But you're right. Most banks aren't giving anybody 1.9% loans on anything. Right. And that's what's really truly amazing about the platform, and what really separates us from some of the other borrowing lending platforms, is the rates are really low, and we're able to offer that because we're not trying to do some complex scheme where we're making profit and then trying to give that back to people. There's no smoke and mirrors. There's just basically, as long as you're over collateralized, you can get a really good borrow rate. And then again, like by combining that with having a good reputation, like by being a good user and keeping money in the system, and keeping your making your payments, having a good reputation will ensure that you get a good discount on your borrow rate, which I said can go all the way up to 25%. So you can actually go, like I think that on my other account, I take loans out at like a rate of like 0.5%. So it's basically, I don't want to say it's like taking a loan for free, and of course, like, you think just like in real life, if you had, the Cantillon effect, right? Like those closest to the money printer, like if money is really cheap to you and you're really close to the printer, you can often make that money work for you, And so it enables, anyone with crypto assets on the US blockchain to be able to basically leverage and borrow against those assets.
So speaking of that, if someone doesn't pay back their loan, then obviously you have the collateral of, whatever they put up as collateral, right? So then you would seize that, I guess.
Well, and that's another. So the whole system, and what makes it so unique and really advanced is that the whole system is kind of like a closed loop system, right? There's no sort of black swan event that can happen to where for example, what happened with Maker last March when the entire market sort of had the rug pulled out from under it. You had all these people who basically were liquidated, and what's basically happening is they're auctioning off those loans directly into the market right at the precise moment that the market is already collapsing. So what's great about the Vigor system and what makes it completely different is that these people who are lending, right? It's basically like, so you basically have like insurance. You basically have these lenders who are putting up the lending. So when you're borrowing against those people's, those people are essentially providing you the liquidity. So when there's a bailout, those people are basically, the insurers are taking your collateral. And so they're never really gonna lose out, essentially, because no matter what, your collateral should always be worth, of course, what you're. If you get to the point where you're getting liquidated, it's because your loan collateral ratio got too low, right? Like you owe almost right to the point where you owe almost what your collateral is. At that point, and that's another thing that's actually awesome about Vigor is we allow a much tighter spread. I want to say it's 110%. At least with EOS, and just right these numbers right off the top of my head, and I want to say it's closer to like 150% that you have to be collateralized on some of the other lending platforms. So basically, like you're allowed to get really close to the value before you're liquidated. And so what we like to in our system, it's not really a liquidation; it's more like a bailout. So what happens is your collateral is basically sold to the insurers. Essentially, they take on that your collateral, and so those tokens are still worth at least what they're insuring by at least a margin of at least 10%.
Do you give out reports like to let you know then when you're getting to that margin where it's getting kind of close?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, so what's cool about this is you see this cool dial here, right? So as this, you see where I'm kind of in this like safe blue zone, right? If I was to continue borrowing, this would get worse and worse until it eventually was in the yellow and then eventually in this red, right? So it would show that I'm really close to, if my collateral ratio fell to where it was in that danger zone, this would actually be red. And, so of course it's on the user you should be, somewhat checking and keeping an eye on, especially if there's a lot of market movement, you would want to know,
check your balance.
You'd want to be keep taking a look at it, but as you can see, and it shows too at the bottom, and what's actually amazing is, there's been almost no liquidations. There's been a handful of liquidations since we started, since we went live, and most of them were from our own fund, which was just like one of the internal sort of accounts that gets liquidated, but no actual, almost hardly any users have been actually liquidated or bailed out, as we like to call it, because and all that information is of course on chain and can be looked at, and it's kind of interesting to see what happens. So it all worked as it's supposed to. Their debt was essentially sold off to the insurers, and none of the insurers lost any money. Like in some cases there's probably extra coins, like there's no like nobody loses out, essentially, because the person who borrowed still has their borrowed funds. The amount that got bailed out basically covers that amount that they already have, and the insurers essentially now collect that fee. So yeah, it's basically a closed kind of a closed loop system. That's one of the
nice. Well, I mean, that's pretty awesome that you shared that with us. I mean, there's so much information you can borrow. I mean, you can. It's a great platform. I think users should start using that. Now, do you do any AMAs? I know there's some projects out there that do AMAs where they really interact with the community, and I know you are active with the community already. But are you going to do like AMAs?
Yeah, that's a great question, and the short answer is, yeah, we're kind of always doing an AMA, and it's kind of almost like, it's kind of like, so we have, probably too many Telegram groups, but we have countless Telegram groups, right? So we're always interacting with our users and with the community. But really, it's kind of like, like kind of what I was explaining before, because we're a DAC, there's really, because there's no CEO and no one like in charge, and me, I'm just a community member, really. Like, I'm by no means like the spokesman for Vigor or anything like that. I'm just part of the media and marketing and integrations working group.
Yeah, you're a custodian. You're still important. I mean, you're pretty excited and pumped about this.
Absolutely, and I take it really seriously. I really feel like passionate about like protecting the DAC, and I think that's that's what it's really about. It really is kind of like I don't want to sound cheesy, but it's like a family, and it really is just like there's the people that are voting for, it's whoever's passionate and whoever's bringing something to the table can get votes, and that's what's kind of cool about it, is like basically anyone who is really interested in the platform can join the DAC and just jump right in and join in the Telegram groups, and all of our calls are public. So like I was mentioning before, like I host a call on Wednesday, a Zoom call for the marketing group, and anyone's welcome to join. Like anyone, it's a public call. Like just anyone can just log on, get the link from our Telegram group and just log on. And I say the same thing at the beginning of every call. I encourage everyone to kind of try to say something. Like, don't be shy. We're all just a group. Like we're the ones making this happen. Like everyone should contribute and participate. And that's the way that I kind of got in. And basically the people who recognize that I was passionate and wanted to help out and could bring something to the table basically gave me enough votes that then I was a custodian. And that same thing is kind of continuously happening. Like there's people who just, joined the DAC, within the last month or two, and we're immediately making an impact, and we're immediately voted up to a custodian position. So it kind of just goes to show, I mean, it's an ever-changing thing. And even since I've joined, I've seen, a number of people who have sort of come and gone. Sometimes people bring a skill, and then maybe then the focus shifts to another sort of skill set. And right now obviously we've launched, so but there's always continuous dev work to be done. And so really, and this is, let me just give it why I have this platform. I'll give a shout out to anyone who's a C++ dev. We are always looking for more developers that really want to come in and help and join the team, and jump in. If you're a developer, if you know C++, join the Telegram groups, and we'll get you some votes, and we want to get you in there, and we want to keep building the DAC, and we need people of all different skill sets.
Right, and being the grassroots that you are, as you grow and how quickly you're growing, obviously you're creating jobs out there for the developers. So it's pretty exciting how you are growing, and you are going to provide those jobs in the future.
Absolutely. I mean, every day, even just the community members who are helping with social media, or like what you're doing, like right now, like you're providing a service for the Vigor DAC. Like right now we're literally marketing for Vigor, right? This is literally how the DAC was built. It's by people putting up their time and volunteering to grow this thing, and that's kind of that's what we're doing. And so I really appreciate you having me on and giving me the chance to do this walkthrough and help promote the DAC and the platform.
Yeah, well, I got to tell you, I appreciate you coming on and teaching this girl that, probably about a month and a half ago really didn't know anything about this space. So I'm learning about so many interesting projects, and yours is one of them. So I appreciate you taking the time to come on my channel, Explain Vigor, and I'm going to have all of the links that you talked about in this video. I'm going to have them in the description below, so make sure that you let me know what all of those are so I can share them with you. So I as I said, thank you so much. I really appreciate you, and I'm going to call you, even though your proper name is Bonz, I'm going to call you Bonz, like in James Bonds.
That is my nickname. Bonz is what everyone calls me. Thank you.
All right. Thanks
for
so much.
having me on, Mary. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. As always, I appreciate everyone tuning into my channel and coming along on this journey with me. Don't forget to hit the like button and ask your friends to subscribe. And as always, you heard it here on the Blockchain Herd.